So I started my stream today. I was presented with this insult, which I should probably show you guys in a better way since I keep referring to it. Here, let me fix this up, make it look good. It's not an Uzzle dashboard, it's a puzzle dashboard. And it's got some fun times ahead. Make it a little small. Show bottom of the screen. Uh-oh. Okay, we do this one now. So, this is our puzzle dashboard. And apparently in the last 30 days, I have been very bad with endgame and advanced pawn. Especially endgame. It's like a big bite out of the pie of tactics that I've done. I want all the pie. Alright? I don't know how much you guys understand that feeling when you just really want all the pie. But that's the feeling that I have right now. And therefore, I've opened up Light Chess with the express aim and mission of doing all these endgames that are, or all these tactics that are puzzle themes, or endgame themed. Sorry, I'm losing it. I'm ravenous for these endgame tactics, so I can get my revenge. So here we are, and I'll almost definitely get it wrong, because this is the category where I've been performing the worst, despite endless tactics study and endless endgame study. Really just lots of studying. You know, somehow I still managed to get it all wrong, all mucked up. Blitzicle, welcome. Hope you can hear me okay. Everything should be working. Somehow, you were the first person, you were even first before Stream Elements picked up that I was streaming, so good job on that. Run like the wind. So here if I play Rook F8, it doesn't seem that logical. Because I'm threatening mate. Maybe I should use that. King H7 jumps out here. But for sake of argument, if I play Rook F8, they could play a bunch of different moves. Queen H5, Queen G6. I'm sorry, Queen H5 runs into Queen G2. No wait, I don't have that because the Rook's on F8. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you saw it while I was streaming. I'm also steadily sinking in my chair. Alrighty. Yeah, I think Rook F8's not logical. So we go here. Now, how do we win down a piece? Well, the way that I usually win down a piece is by playing a move that threatens mate. So it could be Queen F3. Utilizing the pin. Threatening... Well, actually, Queen F3 doesn't directly threaten mate, because Queen H5 is a thing. So it could be Queen E4, threatening Queen H4. So after Queen E4, it's Queen H5 is like forced, I guess. Queen F3 might be it, if anything, because it prevents Queen H5. So I'm still not done with that idea. But Queen E4 does threaten mate. Queen H5 is the only move, I guess. And my hang up here is that if I play Queen F4, my only reasonable check that I can see, they play King H1 and they look pretty safe. So it might be something like Queen E4, Queen H5, and then Rook F5. Or maybe like Queen F4 check, King H1, and Rook F5. With the idea of getting control of the H4 square. And Queen F3 would prevent the Rook from coming back. So I think Queen E4 makes sense too. I don't think I have a great alternative. And here I was thinking queen f4, king h1, and oh wait, I don't have rook f5 there. See, first puzzle, not doing so great. So rook f5 immediately might be the thing. Rook f5 because queen f3, I can always come back and take it. And if they play like queen d1, then I have queen h4 mate. And if they play some different move that's not queen takes f5, like rook e1, I should be able to just take that queen with check and win the game. So I think it's rook f5. And if queen takes, I could probably take in either fashion and be perfectly fine. It's probably smarter to take with the e pawn so that they can't get counterplay against that pawn for some time. And then we can go mop up some of these pawns, I don't know, something like that. So, okay. Now here I was thinking queen f4 or queen e5. Queen e5 so that I have rook h5. Alright. Ha, endgames aren't so bad. Take that, light chess. I don't need your smack talk. Had enough. Okay, so here I have to win. Seems kind of obvious to play something like g4. For instance, g4, if they trade these and then play king b3, I play f5, take, and king c4. They are way outside of this square. Because it's our move, we get to advance further. So g4 seems kind of obvious. g4, what could go wrong here? If they play h4, I think f5 is still winning. I think every other move is like losing. King c2, king a2. If I play h4, then king b3. And I don't see what I'm accomplishing there. So I think it has to be g4. I can only take back. Alright, now this is a plot twist where they want to go take those pawns and they're going to give up their b pawn in the process. So they're in the square now, right? If I play f5, takes, they are in it because it's their move now. So they can play king c5 just barely in the nick of time. Now my alternative is I could let them take and then play g5, and then they've 1, 2, 3, 4 moves, and I get 1, 2, 3 moves, so I promote first, but they promote with check, right? So it'd be like g5, f4, g6, f3, g7, f2, do this, they make a queen. That's probably not a good idea. So f5, not so great. g5 could steal a move because they have to do something here, right? Like play c5, king c5, and then I could play f5. They take, I play g6. They're still well outside, so they might play f4, g7, f3, g8, f2, and then we can go ahead and play queen f8 and win that pawn. Or, you know, actually it doesn't matter where their king is. We would win the pawn either way. So I think it's g5. Now, what if they go back to b3? Or maybe this one. Am I still cool with this? Yeah, because I get a queen before they ever have a chance to promote. Does this change anything? I go here. If they take, they're outside the square because the square is very tiny. So if I go here and they do something like this, I can play f6, and now I'm totally winning. So I think it's all good. f6 is a winning move. I am sure of it. Yet somehow I feel this trepidation. Now if I take, I could probably refute this and then decide. Alright, so if I take, they go here. I take, they go here. And I'm a long way away from protecting that pawn. In fact, if they can get their king to g7, even if I can play king f5, if it's my move, I have to lose the pawn. But if it's their move, I can play king f6. That should be winning, so... Are they not both winning? I think this is probably a draw. I think probably taking is a draw. They go here, I take, here. They take. And I am too slow. So I think it's only f6. Not two solutions there. Okay. I have the feeling that my revenge on all tactics of an endgame nature is ripe, is coming. There will be vengeance. This kind of pawn structure can be really funny, where you start just taking down the line. But what's not funny is that they have queen g6 or something like that. A little bit of a home invasion, home alone status over here. If there weren't threats to the king, I would probably just play something like knight d4, pawn takes, c3, pawn takes b2. Also, I don't have... Well, yeah, if rook takes b2, I do have rook h1. So probably that is conceptually right. It's just that they have queen g6. So let's say I take, they play queen g6, threatening mate. Knight f3 check. Funny thing is, like, anytime they play king g3, I'm not seeing the answer. Could it be something like queen d6? Bishop f4, the knight takes e5. That would be good, I think. Hold on, would it be good? Possibly not, because of queen g8 check, king e7, and rook g7. But if, yeah, I think that would be a disaster. So probably knight takes d4 and knight f3 check is not working. It doesn't seem too good. Welcome, Meter Master. My chair is letting me down today, literally. Okay. So I think the knight might have to stay on f5. And I really can't tolerate queen g6 at all, because queen g8 is a problem, queen g7 is a problem, everything's a problem. It's problematic. I don't like it. Hello, Shy. Welcome. So maybe there's some tactical defense of g6, and that's what's important here. For instance, maybe queen e4, something. Idea was queen g6, rook h1, king takes h1, knight g3 check, but they have queen takes g3, so I really don't think that's working. So queen g6 remains problematic. starting to consider nonsensical moves. It'd be cool to get some kind of queen takes g2 stuff coming, or knight g3, but since the queen and the rook and the king all cover those important squares, it seems unlikely to work. Here's a thought. Queen f3, queen g6, and then either rook h1 or queen h3, something like that. Let's say I was thinking something along the lines of rook h1, king takes h1, queen h3, rook h2, knight g3, king g1, queen f1, checkmate. But after queen f3, queen g6, so from the beginning, queen f3, queen g6, rook h1, king h1, queen h3, they could play king g1 instead of rook h2. Which is quite unfriendly. I had a checkmate. Why did they not allow me to checkmate them? I consider it unruly behavior. This has only been played 6 times. I just noticed that. This is a rare puzzle, apparently. But a variation with checkmate in it is encouraging. Queen f3 could be a move. And just to show with arrows what I was thinking here, I think queen g6 is the only move that they can or will play. And I was anticipating something like this. Rook h2 loses to knight g3, so they'd probably just go to king g1. And another thing that would be nice would be if I could get in, for example, a moment where I can play queen g2, they have to take with the king, and then I play knight h4, forking queen and king. But since the bishop covers h4, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So queen f3 we're still considering here, and queen g6 is their move. I thought about queen h3, king h3, rook h1, but it's not happening. Not good. So probably queen f4. And they don't really want to block on g6 because we can take that with the knight. I'm sorry, on g3. They don't want to block on g3 because we can take it. So they would likely play something like... Actually, I think they don't have a great move. So queen f3 is probably the only way to defend that spot. Hold on. I'm going to touch up the board here. It's bothering me. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I think queen f3 is the only move. Alright, so this has been played 7 times now. Queen e4. Queen e4 makes sense because it also hits f4. So like if they play queen g6, I can play queen f4 with the same idea. So I probably should have seen that as a red flag here, that there was some difference not in the queen g6 line. Okay, so if I got this as a start position, I would feel pretty good about it, really. Because they're not threatening anything anymore. So the move might be, for example, like something on the back rank to threaten mate. So which one's better? Queen b1 also attacks the b2 weakness, so that could be useful. How are they defending against either of these? Queen f6, right. So queen f6 is their idea. They want to take stuff with check. I expect that there should be no shelter. So probably it's too early to play something active. Probably another defending move is needed for queen f6. Alright, I have an idea. So they're weak on the light squares, right? Because they only have this bishop. What if we just take, 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 take? That's the only move that makes sense. And then play rook c1. No, that's not really good. I was thinking to play rook c2, and if they take it, I could take here and then try to push this. But even like, there's so many things wrong with that. That doesn't make sense. Maybe I could try to get this knight here, but it seems pretty slow. Queen f6 is coming right now. But I guess if I can protect g6, that would avert the worst of it. So maybe knight e3, queen f6, king e8. I would say only move. Actually, no, it's not the only move. I could go here and hit the bishop. They'd take this, I take this. That could be a thing. Maybe this is the defense. Just keep an eye on this bishop. But if they move it, maybe here, then queen d8 is a thing. But then knight e7 holds g6 and blocks the dark squares. But bishop c5 renews the threat on the dark squares. It's kind of obnoxious. Queen takes h4 doesn't work. I think I already covered that one. Knight e3 looks like it could be a draw. But I'm not certain it is. For instance, alright, so let's say the first thing that I saw, because I don't think I even said that out loud yet. Queen f6, king g8. They don't have queen g6 because of queen takes g6. We could take on g6 and rook takes and king h7, and they could play rook takes e6, but then we would have rook b1 or rook a2 winning the b pawn and starting our own pass pawn. But maybe it's not worth the risk to play king g8 and allow them to capture these pawns. So the only way to avoid that, you know what, it just occurred to me, if I play this, they might have... No, okay, never mind. I was forgetting that the knight was on e3. I think king d8 is the only way to keep things interesting. But not on this move, probably. Or maybe it actually should be on this move. Knight e3 seems better to me, but it's not right. Alright, it was king e8. And now we can force trade this. Okay, I was oh yeah, I forgot that after they move the bishop, they're not actually threatening queen d8 because we have this forced trade. So the really hardest part here was telling them the difference between queen f3 and queen e4. What is even the difference here? So let's say they do the same thing. Oh, we're not putting any pressure on h4. So if we play this, then they just have some kind of tactical stuff. Maybe like that. Yeah, I can see how this could go wrong. I'll just check this with the engine real quick. And here it says it's a draw with queen f1, which is what we were trying to avoid. And this, it says it's winning because of queen g6 and queen f6 and rook g7. Okay, so that was all correct. I think I could have solved this one. I just went too quickly on the first move because I saw an idea that survives and I just played it. I only lost 2 rating points though because now I have something that's only played 9 times. They're giving me the rare ones to spite me. They're like, Coach Robert can't have a high tactics rating. For sure not. His performance rating has to be pathetically low, so send him the ones that have been done 9 times. I could probably get this going real quick. Like, if they try to deflect my rook, I'm taking and protecting on f5 quickly with the king. That looks pretty good. But what independent value does it provide relative to king e4? King e4, d2, d4 is also perfectly fine. I think the problem is probably that whatever move I play, they're playing a3. Pawn takes would, I guess, be forced, maybe. And then king a4 wins that pawn, then they play king b3, and they have a reason to be. f5 makes sense. That was the first move that came to my mind. But, like, it's just a single move. And you need to be able to eliminate all the other moves for this kind of puzzle. Otherwise, it's just going to be wrong. Like, why is it not king e4, for example, with the idea of f5? Or the idea of king e5, just don't move any pawns. Well, here's a counter idea to what black might be trying. King e4, a3, pawn takes, king a3, I'm sorry, king a4, king e5, king takes a3, and rook b6. But then they can play d2. We have to go back. King b3, rook takes d2, king takes c3. But then we have rook d7. They probably should play like rook e8. And we could play e7, king somewhere, like king b2 maybe, king e6, c3, rook d8, and that's probably winning. So I think we should use the king, not play f5. Because if f5 pawn takes, king f4, well, we still haven't found the difference between these two. f5, what's going to happen? Pawn takes king f4. a3, pawn takes king a4, king takes f5. King b3, king f6, rook e8. Well, no, not rook e8. Maybe rook e8. rook e8, king f7, rook takes e6, king takes e6, king takes c3, and black is getting a queen probably. And white has only one pawn left, the g pawn, which is blockaded. So I still think it's king. Alright, so Yeatermaster gave a line f5, a3, f6. Why on earth would they start with a3? Could that really be better than just taking on f5? f5, a3, f6, take b2, take e7, b1 queen. They just traded into a position where they're down a piece. Like, I don't see why that would be the answer. Alright, I'm going to try this. And I'm not going to let them get their queen. And king e5. So far, so good. Here I was thinking rook d7. But I could also maybe play king f6. Let me see. I don't really want to move my king so far from the center. I think if I can accomplish my task with rook d7, it's slightly better. But I'm not sold on it at this moment. I just know that those first moves had to be played. So what's the difference here? King f6 looks pretty good, but so does rook d7. If king f6, rook e8, king f7 comes with tempo, that looks pretty nice. But my king's going to end up on e8 at the end of the line, probably. For example, king f6, rook e8, king f7. Maybe I can throw in this waiting move. e7. King c2. Rook d8, rook h7, king f6, rook e7, king e7, and then d2. This should also be winning. King f6 looks winning. So maybe rook d7 is not winning. Rook d7, rook e8, e7, king c2, king e6, d2, king f7. I don't know, if I compare the two, king f6 looks faster. And then king f7. Okay, cool. Glad I didn't get that wrong, because all I could see was there was like a big difference between the two, and that there's a tempo difference, but I didn't see the end result. Good to get that right. Deepak, that's a lot of zeros. Are you okay? Okay, let's move on. Looks like Deepak is calculating. Lots of commas and zeros and inequality signs. Somebody put him out of his misery. Okay, so let's see. Black just defended their king. I see some equal signs in the chat. I don't think we're playing for a draw here. I think white has the advantage. Rook F to G3 looks pretty interesting. The queen does guard G8 though. My idea was to play Rook G8, Rook takes, and then Queen takes F6 and win easily. But if I play Rook G8, they will probably play Queen takes G8. That might still be useful somehow. 2 rooks for a queen in this position with weaknesses to attack. But we don't have a lot of pawns, so I'm not that confident that it's winning. It just would be very nice to be able to attack F6. Or sacrifice on H7 and get a checkmate that way. That'd be cool too. But straight on attacks don't look that effective. Like Rook H4, I don't know. Queen F7, just protect it. Queen D7, maybe the same thing. But white is slightly more active, so I feel like a winning move could exist. Well, I'm still pretty set on it being that the king's weakness is the issue at hand here. Because the rooks, I mean, like every piece is protected except this queen on B3. I don't think I really want to go pawn grabbing. I'm already down 2 pawns, I think. Yeah, if I can count, it's 2 pawns. So I find it unlikely that we're going to just win the queen here. If I had a tactic already lined up on G8, I would probably play C4. So maybe it's like Rook G3 and then they can't do anything and then we play C4. Seems unlikely, but could be. Also, if I play C4, they could always play Queen B2 to protect F6, so I'm not sold on that myself. C4 is a forcing move, though. So maybe we should just start with that generally to disrupt the queen, because it seems important for it to come back to F7. For example, maybe C4, Queen B2, and Rook H4. Maybe that is something. But they still have Rook F7. So C4, Queen B2. I'll put arrows because we're thinking about that. And now the ideas with Rook G3 and Rook G8 don't work anymore because F6 is protected, but attacks on H7 might be more successful. Rook H4 is an obvious move. Rook F7 is the obvious defense. I don't think they have anything else. I guess they could play Queen B7 still. But then we can play Rook F4. Still not super convincing. So after c4, they could even preempt all of this with queen b7, straight up. Just go straight for f7. Like, with such an important square for them to be on, they'll probably occupy it immediately. So I don't really think it's c4 in this case. Quite difficult. At least this is a position where it's like not that easy to lose. Doubling on the 7th rank would be cool too. Like, maybe we play c4, queen b7, rook d3, threatening rook d7, and maybe there's some problem whereby they cannot play rook a d8. That would be really convenient. I think that's the case, because after rook takes d8, there's queen takes f6. Winning a piece. So c4, queen b7, rook d3 is on the table. That's an option. So rook f7 might be their choice at that point. This one's been played thousands of times. It's probably not that hard. Thank you for the follow. I can't pronounce your name because it has only one vowel in it and it's at the end. But thank you. It's followers only chat. Oh, my bad. I didn't even realize I had that setting. But I do also get a lot of people joining the chat and trying to start some nonsense that's not related. So 30 and just started chess. Welcome. I feel like your username says it all. Welcome to chess. Chess is a great thing. This one's a puzzle, which means there's a computer behind it, so I would love to put it in a body bag. Or like a Best Buy dumpster, or something like that. Yeah, I kind of imagine it as one of those computers that has the spinning hard drives, so you can kind of just like, I don't know, spin it into oblivion if you're especially sadistic towards technology. They usually just do that to themselves after 3 years anyway, if you're using your computer a reasonable amount. But you know computers these days, they're pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in this puzzle. It's pretty hard. I was thinking c4 is a good starting move, but queen b7 is protecting their weaknesses. And I could maybe redeploy my forces with like rook d4 or rook d3, but it seems like everywhere I try to find a new weakness, they can defend it. Beating a printer with a baseball bat sounds like a great way to spend, I don't know, a Tuesday morning or something. I'm definitely able to get behind that, especially for printers. Everyone knows that printers are the most aggressive form of technology, more so than the things that the U.S. military is working on. It's printers. They're the ones behind all this. Ugh, tech support. No wonder you started chess at 30. I started chess when I felt 30, which was when I was 15. All right, I'm down for a question. Hit me with it. I do have a FIDE or USCF rating. I wouldn't say they mean very much. I'm like 21 something, I think. I don't know. I've played a couple of events recently. I didn't even bother checking my rating afterwards. I've just been looking at the games. I'm aiming for the higher titles though. Yeah, 2100 something. It's pretty decent. I think I can do much better though. I already have CM. I don't have NM, but NM doesn't really mean anything anyway. I mean, one could get extremely philosophical and say none of the titles mean anything, which is probably closer to how I feel. Alright, it's like 90 degrees in here. I'll be right back. $90 with humidity. Not actually 90. Anyway, I fixed that problem. Now, if I could fix this problem, then we would be in business. No, I'm good. So, being a GM and placing bodies in a body bag, well, I think if they're already a body, that's pretty easy, honestly. I think the parts that come before that are much harder. So I'd be more impressed if you're a GM in the steps that come first. Since I've been staring at this for too long and I want to solve more problems, I'm going to make a move very soon. So I just want to analyze something I haven't looked at. Maybe this. I thought they would play this. Alright, that's still not working out. This is an idea. I thought about... now if I could just get my rooks right. Rook g3 with the idea of rook g8, rook takes, queen takes f6. But queen f7 seems to do the trick. Actually maybe it doesn't do the trick. Maybe I was right in the first place and I just got distracted. Rook g3. Let's say, so if they play queen f7, maybe we could entertain such notions as rook g7. No, I still think that's not right. One second, I hear some nonsense. Oof, I heard some weird stuff. Alright, I'm good. Anyway. Oh, the quote command is there. Yeah, I think rook g3 is still not there. I'm going to try c4. It was wrong. I'm sad. Alright, that's how it goes. Try this one. Try this one. Try this one. Okay, these are all the moves that I thought made any sense in the world. What else could it possibly be? Rook h4 I tried, but they just defend to h7. Yeah, rest in peace for sure. It's not like checking them because they can take it with the king, and that's annoying. I don't think it's like rook g6 because, well, maybe it's rook g6. No, doesn't make sense. They could just trade pieces after that. I don't think it's rook d3. I don't think it's rook d4. I don't think it's rook f4. Jeez, even though I've gotten it wrong, I still have no idea what it was. Could not. Really? What is this? I thought about this, but I still don't get it. The only thing that made sense to me was like this. Oh, but we have rook g3. Oof. This one is too simple to be getting wrong. First move is check. That should be obvious. But rook g3 was hard. Thank you for following Deadman956. That's an easy name to say. The guy who started chess at 30 should try to put you in a body bag since that's what we were just talking about. Again, that would be an easy task if you're already dead. Yeah, this was good. to remember that it exists. Yeah, queen sack is kind of obvious and somehow didn't do it. Sad. So sad. Alright, so they've got this knight running amok. Meanwhile, what are we doing here? I think we want to get this pawn rolling. We have some small support here on the side. It probably doesn't pay to play c7 because either way their plan is probably to come take the pawn. So let's say I play like king h6, just normal looking move, you know, nothing to see here. If they go for king e6, g6, pawn takes, king d6, h4, king takes, h5, king d7, king f7, maybe not king f7. So our pawn's right here. We need to go 1, 2, 3. It's knight against rook pawn, and the rook pawn is quite far advanced. I'm not convinced that they're going to actually stop it. But if there were a way to stop it, it would be to put your king on like e7 and your knight on f7. And somehow just maintain this very chill scenario. The person with the unpronounceable name says that they often hear from friends that they have studied a lot of positional concepts and positional positions. And are there puzzles like that? Well, first of all, chess is a positional game. You know, what we're playing here is a position. So I don't think it's that useful to separate the tactics from everything else. There are some books that talk about strategic concepts, but I think they're mostly aimed at players who are like 2200 plus. So in that sense, I would say they're not very useful for most people. It's like the people who are in the top 1% in the world, like really in the top 1%, are going to benefit from those books. A lot of older books give some commentary about strategy in game collections. So I think those are especially useful, but it's up to you to actually make them feel like a puzzle. You have to like cover up moves, guess your moves, read what happens next, and it can be a slow process. But I think that's probably a pretty safe bet, reading game collections from like the last century. For example, Fisher's My 60 Memorable Games is pretty good for that kind of activity where you guess and check. If you want to see an example of how you might do that, you can check my YouTube channel and search Guess the Move. I did it with my friend Luis a couple years ago, and we made a video and uploaded it. So that's a good example of how it might be done if you just want an idea. The guess and check with top player games, especially from like more than 100 years ago, is a good idea. The more recent games, they're often steeped in like crazy theory, and they're a lot harder to understand than games from like the early 1900s. Endgames are always good. I'm working on endgames and tactics at the same time here. I think that's a good idea. Alright, I think this move makes sense, very logical. No reason not to play it. Now here's where things could get spicy. Maybe the time is already ripe to give up this pawn. I doubt it though. I think if my pawn was on like h5 and I could play g6, then I might be more ready to do so. Meanwhile, maybe I should play c7 to avoid losing it for one more move. Actually, some kind of fortress is emerging here. If I play c7, king e6, h4, king d7, h5, king takes, and g6, they get a draw by takes, and takes. So I do need an extra move, and I need it now. It's my money, and I need it now. Probably h4 will be a good waiting move. I just have to see what's going on with knight c6. Someone's endgame book is pretty good, but I think 100 Endgames You Must Know is much better. I think Silman rehashes a lot of his content, like in every book and blog post that he puts out. It's just the same stuff over and over again. But his endgame book is better than the rest that he's put out, in my opinion. Tversky's Endgame Manual is a reference book. I wouldn't really advise anyone to sit down and read the whole thing unless they were super enthusiastic to start with. Glad to hear that you picked the game back up again, Dead Man. Chess is a great game, especially when you do it with other people. I think there's a tendency for chess to be like an isolating and what's the word for it? Antisocial activity, but it's better when people do it together. Hence this chess streaming thing. I got forked. Thank you for the follow. Alright, so let's say I play h4 and they take this, and I play h5 and they come right back. I have the same problem as before. So maybe now's the time to play something like g6, but that also seems insane. If knight takes, then I'm not even justified, so I have to advance this pawn. Maybe the key detail here is not to allow them to take with the king, but to make them take with the knight. So maybe it's like h4. Alright, so let's say I did h4. They do this. I play h5. They take. I can't play g6. I have to play takes. That actually looks winning. So probably this is a good direction to go in. But then why can't I just take it in the first place? Alright, so if I take, they'll probably come back. And I have to play h4. They hit that pawn. If they play g6, they sack for it. No, wait, but this is promoting. Take here. Protect it. So I'm here wondering why I can't just take that pawn. Well, if I play h4, maybe I'm running into some tactical nonsense. I think that you can never do too much work on endgames. I think that's really good. Deadman, regarding playing against computers, I think playing computers is terribly boring. Usually what I do for to leverage the fact that you even can play a computer is I'll pick a position where I think I should be able to win no matter what against any opponent, and then set the computer to the max level and then play against that and see what I have to do to really understand that position so that I win it every time, no matter how good they are. That, in my opinion, is the most useful. And I made some videos about that too. I think I called it something like using Fritz and ChessBase to train target positions, something like that. I forget. It's on YouTube. Regarding having personal weaknesses, I think it's good to make strengths of your weaknesses, but it's a little bit underrated to make strengths of your strengths. If you're good at something, it's also nice to just get better at that thing. So here I just don't know if I should like promote and then take on h7, or if I should take on h7, or if I should play h4. So maybe I could rule out c8. So they have to take with the knight. I take this. They come back. I go here. And they will probably wait some time before taking the pawn. Like maybe they will play king f5. I go here. And maybe king f4. Yeah, this makes sense. If I promote now, they still have time to stop this pawn. So I should probably not resolve that tension. Try to deprive them of waiting moves. So probably takes first is best, with the idea of pushing this. Like maybe they'll go king d7. I push, they take. Oops. They take, I take, they take here, and I play king g7, winning the game. Alright, I'm going to take this. This is a lot. This looks easier than I thought it would be. So if I play g6 and they take this, and I play g7, and they come back, and I promote, and they take, and I take, and they go, for instance, here. I push, they go here, push, they go here, I lose the pawn. So it's probably a good time to play h4, king takes, h5, king comes back, and then g6 here. King goes here. Now they're threatening king f7, so I would play king g7 and push my h-pawn. Okay, this makes more sense to me. I think this is good. Oh man, that was wrong. Sad. Sag. So if I go here, it's wrong. If I go here, it's right. I wasn't sure if I should go here first or not. I was worried that if I played h4, I would run into knight f5. I didn't mean to play it. But maybe this is the idea. Alright, so this is something that's clearly good. Now why can I not do it differently? Why not this? I figured they would take, and I would play h5, and they would come back, and I would play g6. Which should be winning. Like they go here, here. Maybe it's not. Maybe they go here. No, this should still be winning. No, this is a draw. Interesting. This position looks like something to remember. This is a fortress where it's white to play and white cannot win. Very interesting. So this is the key. I had to avoid this problem. Let's see how far back this is drawn. Probably it's drawn already right here. That's nuts. So actually this position is something to remember too. It's white to play, and nothing they can do will win. Even with two pawns where one is a rook pawn. Usually rook pawns beat the knight. Even a single rook pawn can often pose serious difficulties to the knight. Conceptually, I think this is easy to remember because if the two of these moves are illegal and the third one drops a pawn, and dropping that pawn is very bad because now you cannot advance the other pawn. Okay. So this pawn, if it was a g pawn, is a draw. This position, if it was an h pawn, is a draw. And with both pawns, it's also a draw, even though the king is on c7. Nice. So the best try is probably something like this. Try to fix your mistake. But now they have both pieces in front. They can sack a knight for two pawns. Okay, this is a good example. I like this. The first moves were pretty easy, but snooze you lose, I guess. We were just talking about endgames. This one isn't in 100 Endgames You Must Know. It's not in Silman's book. This is probably in Dvoretsky's book. Chuniflo, where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere, and I find you here on Twitch. You've been MIA for way too long, dude. Okay, what do we got? Another endgame. We have a nice pin going here. Knight e5 is a move that stands out because they can't protect it, so they would go for probably a2. Queen takes. If king h8, then knight f7, king g8, knight h6 is interesting at least. King h8 looks close to winning. Beal was good. Probably one of the best trips that I've taken. And I only lost one game out of 9, so that was pretty reasonable. I wanted to try to do it again, but go somewhere else. So, Chuni, if you're down to travel in like December, we should plan something. In fact, I was thinking about starting a GoFundMe because I'm not sure I can really afford to just do it straight up, but I think it would make really good content and be a good time and help me to keep doing my chess stuff. I haven't put it out yet though because I want to get a quote on how much it would take to go to like Reykjavik or Madrid or something like that. Traveling do be expensive, but let's do it while we can. You know, the world's a mess. Everything's a mess. So it'd be good to travel while we can. Well, we're not stopping this A pawn, so I think it makes the most sense to play something like knight e5. I wonder though if it's worth it to play h4 and h5, allow the queen, and go here. It seems pretty far-fetched to me, so I think we should just win the knight. Okay. Now here, do we take with the queen, or do we take with the knight? Iceland and Spain are both not that expensive. Dude, you know my Fischer Spassky pieces got all messed up in the flood, right? They don't look as legit anymore. Yeah. I say that's life. That's what all the people say. I think knight takes makes sense in this situation because it kind of maintains the initiative a good bit. But we have a lot of freedom at the moment. Easy to say in chess. Maybe knight takes, and then they move their queen, I would imagine. If they went back, for example. Now, let's say they probably had a reason to go here. Maybe they'd play like queen f6. We could move our knight back again and be up a piece. Maybe they'd play like g6. But I feel like this is winning. Like queen b7, queen g7, for instance. Queen takes b5, a2, queen a4. Maybe they'd play queen g7 and then queen a7. It's a weird situation. Alright, I guess just narrowing it down to the short term. It makes more sense to take with a knight than a queen, probably. Unless it's forcing them to put their queen on a better square. So let's say I just take this, you know, and then go back. Maybe like back here. They have two connected pass pawns. This is objectively problematic. Like they might play b4. I don't think the knight has any great places to go except back to e5. So on that basis, I'm going to take with the queen. How is this already the answer and I'm getting 11 points after all these other ones that I did? This doesn't make any sense. Like, really? I have to find put pressure on the pin piece, like some 600 level thing for this 2633 rated tactic? That's the whole thing? What were people even doing here? Alright, I'm leaving this behind. I don't want to see it ever again. Too much of that. I think rook takes a6 is attacking the defender of the mating square. That looks pretty good. What could go wrong? You know, I play this move and I don't hear any screaming. You know, I think this is probably just a good move. I guess I could play rook e8 in between move, but then I have queen takes. Actually, I don't have queen takes e8, do I? Maybe just keep it simple. We take, and take. We take a lot of stuff. There's lots of taking. And because we played h3, there's no back rank mate. Oh, okay. Play queen g5. Fancy. Oh, you fancy, huh? Mayhaps h4 is a move. Mayhaps. And then if queen g4, maybe f3. You know, just a thought. Because then they don't have any place to go. Mr. Lonely. But maybe if I play h4 or f3, they have rook e8 ideas. No, not really. I think it's probably just h4. Alright, there's rook e8 as expected and predicted. I could just take the rook. I really could. If bishop takes, then pawn takes g5, obviously. Winning a piece is nice. But they could play queen takes f5, and that might be more reasonable. And I guess we can just figure it out from there, because I mean, this is fine. Yes, that's right. That's what I thought. Okay, get the quotes back in here. Bishop and 2 pawns against rook, and 3 pawns. My specialty. My kill to death ratio in positions like this is quite high, despite the handicap. I remember it like it was only on Saturday that I outplayed someone after I sacked rook for bishop in the opening and went to a bishop versus rook endgame and won with promotion. So hopefully I can solve this puzzle right. I imagine that it's more important to push this g pawn than this h pawn. Like, for instance, g5, a5, g3, a6, g2 is already winning. The rook cannot get behind this pawn. So it would be... This is also preventing rook f3, which would be a source of counterplay. They probably need to get behind the pawn. So let's say I play g4. Well, actually, g4 could probably be played automatically. Because h4, I'm not really advancing to h3. It's slow. And then by the time I actually get down to h2, they could control that light square where I'm promoting. So I think this is an automatic kind of move. Now, I don't think I can stand my ground with, for example, bishop d6 because of c4, g3, c5, g2, rook takes check. That's very important. King e5 and rook d1, stopping the promotion. I'd have to play h4. Actually, maybe this is not that bad. Maybe I actually can get away with that because after h4, I'm threatening h3. At which point I am arguably winning. If they play rook g1, then h2, they're just encouraging me. So probably after h4, they have to play a5, h3, a6, h2, a7, and I get a queen. So that's actually a winning line. I thought this was like a downside line, like to illustrate an idea. But bishop d6 might just be it. So let's say I play bishop d6, they play a5. g3, a6, g2, I'm getting a queen right now. So they cannot do that. They also can't play rook b8, so they probably have to play like rook b7, I guess, to get behind the pawn. But that's so slow. Like, maybe this. And whichever pawn they attack, I advance the other pawn. Like if they play rook h7, I play g2, threatening promotion. They have to go back, I play h3 with tempo. If they get behind the g7 pawn, then I play h3, and they have to switch and stop that one. I don't see any reason to consider another move. I think this is it. Okay, that was wrong. Sad. That looked pretty good. Well, other moves are reasonable. I think king f7 is sort of an obvious move. King g6 to not lose that. So what's the difference? If the difference is that, like, in one position I'm up a bishop at the end, it's gonna be annoying. Wait, it says, what does it say here? Check. Bishop d6, it says c4. Maybe I miscalculated. Oh, I missed. Something. I missed that the c pawn is running and I can't cross this line to go get it. Okay, so that was a gross miscalculation. Otherwise, this is a pretty easy puzzle. Like, don't let the rook get behind the pawn. Don't do it. You know, like this is a pretty easy puzzle. Just overthought that and miscalculated. Not fantastic, but that's okay. If I play f2, then I'm fighting for a draw after bishop takes f2. So maybe something with knight e3. The white pawns are a long way away from doing something useful. I see a future where they put the bishop right here. So maybe it's good to prevent that. Because if they can sit there, then f2 is just not really happening. By the way, Luis, if you're still there, you should hit me up on Discord. Okay. Also, anybody else is welcome to join the Discord. Let me put a link there for you guys. You guys are all welcome to join my chess Discord, if that's what you're into. Yeah, hit me up after the stream. We can catch up a bit or something. Oh, Chiniflow, are you trying to stream now? I know you said it like a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, but I wasn't sure if you were gonna pull through with that. Well, if you start, I will definitely endorse you on my channel. Yeah, just go live and see what happens. Knock yourself out. Why not? I kind of feel like knight e3 is not doing very much. Oh, so Tuniflow, you did your first stream. I wonder how I missed that. I didn't get a notification or anything. It's obnoxious. 7.5 out of 9 in a French themed tournament is pretty good. You had to play both colors. Alright, I have a vision of glory here, potentially. So let's say I check, go here, and I play this move. Because if they take and I take, I am getting a queen. There is nothing they can do about it. So I could throw this in between move. That might be good. They have to play this. And maybe I can make a useful move here. I didn't really get that far. This idea is definitely half-baked. I sort of find it more likely that I should try to check the king into oblivion. Maybe like this. Okay, this definitely looks right now. Because then I have knight d3. Oh, come on. I thought this was right. How could you? Alright, this first, and then probably this move. What is even the difference? Okay, I missed something. Oh, I can do this. Well, that was true in either line. So why is it king g4 first? What is wrong with this? Maybe I was wrong. No, this line's winning for black. But this line is not, apparently. Okay, I guess I need to maintain control of these squares long enough to force my line. My line wasn't forced, it was just an idea. Sad. It was a good idea. I liked it. Alrighty, I think I'm starting to get tired after doing this for too long. So probably this will be my last puzzle, and then we can wrap up. H3 looks like it could be a tactic. Except they have multiple moves that don't lose. I'm not sure how useful it is to get the move h3 added in here. I'm mostly wondering if I should just play this king and pawn endgame. Straight up. So if I take and then play, for example, b4, they could come back and try to take this pawn in 3 moves, get out of the way in 4 moves, and then promote in 7 moves. So it would be like takes, takes, b4, king g4, b5, king here, a4, king takes, and I could actually throw in king f2 and stop all of that, so it's probably not that important to prevent. That looks winning because they'd start in with e5, I play a5, e4, b6, they play e3 with check, I take it, they get out, but I'm playing b7 and getting a queen right now. But h3, king h5, rook takes, king takes is otherwise very similar. Like, they don't have to go try to win that pawn. So what's the deal? Let's say I take, and play b4. Takes me like 4 more moves to make a pass pawn. Maybe they can come and try to stop it, like this. maybe this first. That's not a desirable situation because I have to put in a lot of work to come over and take this pawn. Well, maybe instead of winning this pawn, I could just go 1, 2, 3, and I'm still in the square of this pawn. I could also probably take, play king e4, and just not allow any of that. In which case they would have to try this. King f6. I don't think that coming over to win this pawn really demands that the pawn be on h4, so I don't think it's important to play h3 to prevent that pawn from going anywhere. At the same time, fixing one of their pawns is probably something that you should do in general. It's probably a good idea. Thank you for the follow, Jacob the Dunce. That's not very nice to say about yourself, but I don't know you, so. Yeah, h3 seems pretty good, Santosh. Welcome. It's too bad you're catching me sort of at the end here. I think h3 is fine. Now what I really want to do is trade and play this king and pawn endgame. Even though it's even pawns, because my king is a little more active, I can create an outside pass pawn. I'm already blocking their pawn. And if I play like rook a7, then rook g3 is huge counterplay. Huge counterplay, seriously. So I think I have to do this. Now do I play king e4 or b4? This is an important detail, I suppose. So let's say I play b4. Moving these pawns is not useful. I think they'll play king f5. b5, king e5, a4, king d5, a5, king c5, b6, pawn takes, a6. And the problem here is that I've given them a pass pawn in order to make all this happen. So it's probably good to... Oh, and the reason that I'm giving them a pass pawn, like doing this, I play b6 and then play a6, is because if I take with the king over here, they are easily stopping the pawn. But even this might be fine. Like maybe I play king e4, king b6, king e5, king c5, king e6. I guess they're running to the corner, so that's a draw. So it's probably better to avoid all of that by playing king e4. And that's the answer. Cool beans. The best kind of beans. Alrighty, so I've been doing this for a while. I need to go do other things. But I appreciate you guys coming out. And let's see, maybe we should, since a lot of people are on Twitch today, maybe we should raid somebody. Let me open my Twitch for the raiding. Who should we raid? Any suggestions, guys? Jeez, it's been so long since I've actually raided somebody. We should raid Ben Feingold. I think that's the right person to raid. Because he's a nice guy. Oh, it's GM Benjamin Feingold. I should spell his name right. Well, thanks for coming, you guys. I have some events coming up that you guys might like. Like, we have this fan face-off on Saturday. You can check YouTube for the schedule for that. It's going to be 2 people who watch this channel duking it out with live commentary, and it's going to be great. I hope you guys can all make it. And other than that, I'm going to be streaming almost every day. So, I'll see you guys next time. Let's do the raid. I hope that worked. Hopefully it works. Or is it /raid? I think it's /raid, not exclamation point. God, I'm so bad at this. Okay, we do the /raid. Do I have to be on Twitch actively to do this? Let me log in, make sure that it worked. Please bear with me. I do want us to raid Ben Feingold. I think it's important. Alright. I think I can do it like this. Oh, I already have a raid in progress. Cool. I'm glad that worked. Oh, I already have a raid in progress. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Thanks for tuning in, you guys.
One, good luck, everybody.